Hello, dear friends. Let's talk about the hidden patterns behind our decisions. When we make decisions, there certainly has to have some of the patterns. We would like to think about them. We'd like to we'd like to understand to some extent what exactly is going on. So I can say that every decision you make, every choice you believe is yours. This is how it works. And and maybe every path you think you consciously have selected. If I told you there's a pattern behind it, and the pattern that's behind the selection, that pattern we would like to talk about. A pattern you don't see, a pattern you don't control as much as you think. Whatever quantum of reality you think about it, you're not making it exactly the way you want. A pattern that has been quietly shaping your life from the very beginning, from the very start. And and today we are not just talking about decisions. We are trying to we will try to uncover we will try to uncover the invisible. I may call it as the invisible architecture. We can think in terms of the invisible architecture behind them. So here we will have a scientific argument about the illusion of free choice. We are exclusively talking about science here. And think about your lost decision. We are trying to understand it from the perspective of science. Maybe your decision, it was something small, what to eat. Maybe something bigger, what to study, where to go, how to trust somebody with whom I have an interaction. It felt it felt like a choice, and we oftenly talk about it. But I tell you, pause. You pause for a moment. Why? Why do you choose that and not something else? Was it was it something like random in nature? Was it was it a pure absolute kind of logic, the way a classical computer works? Or was something deeper at work going on? Because because here is the here is something, here is an important truth about this fact. Your decisions are not isolated events. It's not like a particle in an ideal box. They are outcomes of hidden influences, your past experiences, your environment, your emotional state, your expectations, and even factors you are not consciously aware of. You don't decide. You don't decide in a vacuum. You have some kind of vacuum, you make a decision, it's an absolute thing that's coming out of you. You decide inside a system. Your decision is a result of the system. So we are trying to talk about that pattern. We are trying to understand, we are trying to learn. And let's try to go deeper in this context. And if I tell you that, imagine your mind not as a free agent, but as a pattern, a recognition machine. What am I trying to tell here is, from childhood, your brain it's collecting data. It's collecting data within and outside. And every success, every failure, every reward that you have had, this child have had, every reward, every pain that he or she has suffered, and slowly, silently, all of these things, what they do basically is they build patterns. They build patterns. Now, what am I trying to tell here is the pattern of what feels when you're safe, what feels when you are at some kind of risk, and what feels familiar, what feels maybe threatening. These patterns are there. Now here is the key. When you face a decision, it's like facing a decision. Your brain doesn't start from zero. It does not give you a decision from vacuum. It doesn't start from zero. It searches. It scans. It scans its entire internal database and asks what has worked in past, what has worked before, and what should be avoided. Because there is a set of patterns being built in our brain. And then it nudges you. It doesn't force you. It does not force you. But it nudges you towards a choice that fits the best, that fits the pattern that you are interacting with. So here we have a role of uncertainty as well. So I can say that life is not predictable. I can say life is not predictable. Every decision carries uncertainty. In every decision that we make, it has a part of uncertainty living in it. And uncertainty creates discomfort.
So what does your mind do? What does our mind do? It tries to minimize that uncertainty. It tries to take our choices to a state of minimum uncertainties. You often don't choose what is best. You choose what feels less uncertain. You choose something that has least uncertainties in it. That's why people people stay in familiar situations even when they are unhappy. They don't want to be, but still they prefer to be in these situations. People repeat mistakes they already understand. People avoid risks that could transform their lives, that could transform the state of life that they are living. Because the unknown, the thing that you don't know about, is more uncomfortable. It's more uncomfortable than the known pain, where you know the extent of the pain that you can have from a particular piece of action. There always exist hidden forces. Now let's expose some of the hidden forces shaping your decisions. Number one, there is emotional, and we call it momentum. Emotional momentum. If you are already feeling anxious, your decision will lean towards the safety. If you are excited, you will lean towards the risk. This is emotional momentum. Now there is what we call as framing effect. And what is it? The way a choice is presented changes your decision, even if the outcome is the same. And another important point is the past, the conditioning that has happened in past to us. Now, if something once worked, your brain over trusts that thing because it has worked in some point of time. So if something once failed, your brain over avoids it. And there's another part. The fourth part is the social influence. You think you are independent, but your environment constantly shapes your preferences. You are not an ideal individual, independent of everything. No, you have a complete dependence. And you try to make the cognitive shortcuts. Your brain simplifies the complex decisions using some quick rules. And these decisions are not always accurate, but maybe they are efficient at times. Now, let's go back to those patterns. So the patterns that we talked about, these patterns become your identity. you can be identified from these patterns. And over time, these repeated decisions form something bigger. What they form is they form your identity. And you start saying, this is who I am. And this is how I think. Now it becomes you. And this is what always do. This is what I always do. This is what you always do. But it has a basic hierarchical structure of all these patterns that I talked about. But what you call yourself is often just a stable pattern made of all these patterns. You are a pattern reinforced over the long period of time. And the more you repeat it, the stronger it becomes. It takes a very strong corner in your life, in your patterns. But at times you can break these patterns. Now here is the most important question. And the question is, can you break this pattern? You are built out of these sets of patterns. Can you break this pattern? The answer is yes. You can break it, but not by accident. Breaking a pattern, it needs awareness. It requires the awareness, because you cannot change what you do not see. So next time you make a decision, every time you make the decisions, and here I'm pointing out to you, next time you have to make a decision, you ask yourselves, why am I leaning towards this? Why am I moving towards this? Is this comfort or clarity? Is this habit or intention? Am I choosing, or I'm reacting? The moment of awareness, that moment of awareness is where change begins. You can see the power of it. When you realize that you are reacting, basically. So, making a choice, making a conscious choice, it has a power. When you start observing your decisions, you're making decisions. Something powerful happens. Something strong happens. Something overwhelming happens. The pattern does not disappear, but it becomes visible. You're able to see the pattern. And once And once it becomes visible to you, once it becomes visible to us, you are no longer fully controlled by it. You basically you're basically creating some kind of space. You're creating a gap between impulse and the action. And inside that gap between the impulse and the action, inside that gap, real choices exist. But let's have some deeper perspective in this context and try to realize what we are trying to learn at this point. Now step back even further, and zoom out. Your decisions are not just personal events. They're part of larger unfolding reality. A chain, we may call it a chain of cause and effect. Every choice leads to another. Every choice takes us to another choice. Every action reshapes the future. And slowly, calmly, steadily, your life becomes the sum of all the decisions. The decisions that are lying between the impulse and the action. They are not random. They are not random. They are not chaotic. But there's a pattern. They are but patterned. They are patterned. So let me close this argument. Let me close this argument that I started with these patterns. Your decisions are made of these patterns. I'm telling you. So the next time you say, I choose this, you should ask yourself. You should certainly ask yourself, did you choose it? Or did a hidden pattern chose it for you and you reacted? Because the truth is not that you have no control. This is not the reality. You have a control. The truth is, the reality is, the fact in this framework of learning is, control begins where awareness begins. And once you start seeing the pattern, once you start seeing the patterns, you don't just make decisions anymore. You're not making decisions. What you do basically is you transform them. You transform them. And to end this argument, to stop this one-sided conversation, the question is no longer